Hi. Yes, I'm so honored to be a part of this, that you guys have let me into your community. It's really amazing, and I already want to cry just hearing your pieces of your stories. Yes, I survived one and a half because I have four children, and so my first two were from narcissists, but one of them was just out. But the one that really was difficult was my son's father. So that's the end of my story. I became a therapist. I like to say kind of when I was 17, because I went through a traumatic experience, and when my family came to see me, everyone just kind of stood over me and like asked me why I didn't ask them for help. And I was so confused at 17, like I'm the child. Like how am I supposed to know to ask all you adults what to do? It was the strangest thing, and it was at that moment that I was like, I'm going to be the person that kids can talk to about anything, and that will tell kids what they need to hear, and be a safe place for them. So I'm really an expert in children, and have my bachelor's in child development, and work with kids and adolescents. And then I had to get into adults, and then I ended up loving it too, because it turns out most of us adults are still children. We're dealing with our kids' stuff. It's our family issues that lead us into getting into these narcissistic relationships. And so that background has really helped me help people in a holistic way. Yeah, I definitely think there is a biological component. It's kind of like a foundation, like a sleeping giant in there that gets passed down. Some kids get the full blown thing from the start. I've met a 2-year-old that was fully narcissistic. It was amazing. It was crazy. So then other kids have the foundation in there, but then yes, they have the behavioral example of this parent who's teaching them how to manipulate and gaslight and doing these things, and that trauma then bursts it forth, and then you have your resilient kids who probably didn't get the DNA or the biological component of it, and they're more resilient and able to withstand this mess and kind of see that this parent is a mess, and go forward. And I think I'm in that category. My mother was a narcissist and a borderline personality disorder person, and my older sister is a narcissist. So I survived two of them. So I've come across where for some weird reason it's like one of us per family, that you grow up and you're looking around, you're going, what's wrong with these people? They're crazy. And so some kids can do that, but other kids fall subject to the mess. Yeah, that one's hard to tell, because of course narcissists aren't jumping up and saying I'm a narcissist. I think if it was a more positive connotation, they would definitely take it. Um, so I think maybe some of them do know, some of them don't, but all of them don't care. Doesn't matter. They're just gonna do what they're gonna do. And I've met a few in therapy that have accepted that title, but they literally come once because there's nothing wrong with them, and they came because their life is at rock bottom, lost everything, and someone said they should come, but then they can't keep with it because you can't help me, I'm smarter than you. And then I had one guy, the wife dragged him in, and you could tell she was a mess. She was on her last door dealing with this guy, and he admitted, I'm a narcissist, I told her to leave me. She won't leave me alone. It was just so horrible. I was just like, oh my God. So some of them know, some of them don't. It doesn't really matter to them. It matters to us. And then what they're doing, yes, is taking it and throwing it back at us. And that's just the same gaslighting, like, oh, it's not me, it's you. You're the messed up one. And that's why I had to, I'm working on, the book for fathers, because a lot of fathers read my book, and because it's from my perspective as a woman, they go, wait, am I the narcissist? Because it's like you're talking to me or something like that. And I go, no, you have to switch. So when you read my book, you're me. Switch the roles, and the male narcissist in my story is your female ex. So we do need to write a book from the male perspective that's a little easier to follow. So the signs of the narcissist are the intense selfishness. Everything is me, everything is I come first, I want to do this, if I want to do this and then you can enjoy it too. It's never doing something out of the goodness of their heart for another person. They always have a motive. They're always getting something out of it. Then it's the admiration. They have to be admired. You know, look at me, whether it's physical, look at what I have. A lot of them are very materialistic. You know, they've got to have better than the neighbor and better than whoever, and they're just always showing off. Okay, and just themselves. Again, they're not showing off the both of you. They're not showing off their family. They're just showing off themselves. You do have your narcissists who are not the smartest. So those narcissists they can live on minimal. Like they can live in a tiny apartment with nothing as long as someone else is paying for it. So they still manipulate people into paying for their lives, but they don't need a lot of material things, and they're not very smart. They can't acquire much. So they just kind of sit in that, you know. Let's see, admiration. Then we have, what's the other trait? And then of course the putting you down. So, you know, it's emotional abuse when they have to put someone down because they don't have a container for love and affection really, or they have a container and it's got holes in it. So in order for them to feel good about themselves, they have to put you guys down, suck your energy, and then they feel good for a little while, but they can't hold on to it. So then they have to do it again and again. So anyone they're around, coworkers, they have to consistently berate and put people down. And a lot of times, especially in the beginning, it's in a lot of subtle ways, very subtle ways. And you'll go, wait, did you just say that to me? No. Wait, did you just mean that? And that's what kind of sends us crazy, is the subtlety of it. And you can't really explain to someone else, well, I kind of sensed they were saying this, or I kind of felt like it was this. And you can't really explain what in the heck happened, you know, but they're, you know, consistently subjugating you the whole time, you know. Let me see. The grandiosity is, you know, they're always talking about their achievements. They're always talking above what they really are and who they really are. Like they're so wonderful, and they'll always come home. One of the early signs for me was my ex never could keep a job. And so he would always find a reason. Well, they didn't understand me, or they didn't appreciate me, or I can do that job better than them. And, you know, they always have a reason why they're not appreciated and understood at their job, and they should be the boss. But it's like, but you don't have the degree and you didn't start the business, and it doesn't matter. And so some of those type of people jump from job to job. And then of course the lack of empathy, which I talked about as the emotional abuse. Like they just don't care about you. Another big red flag is narcissists are very bad in medical situations, like very serious situations, or when you're very sick. Even when you're very sick, you probably notice they don't take care of you. That's the worst thing for a narcissist. They cannot fake that amount of empathy. When someone's sick, or you got to go to the hospital, or your kid is sick. I've heard stories, this lady's kid got hit by a car in the neighborhood, and the guy brought the kid home with his bike, and the dad came out and looked and went back in the house and didn't check on his son, didn't go to the emergency room with them. I mean, and my ex did it as well. My son hit his head on the basketball thing, and he sent me a picture of this giant bump on my son's head and said, you know, haha, he hit his head. And I said, so you're at the hospital? No, he's at home by himself. I'm like, what are you talking about? He could have a concussion. So I had to leave work and drive like 40 miles to get my son and take him to the ER. And while I was sitting in the ER with him, his father doesn't text about him. His father texts me, he looks more and more like you every day. I was like, what? Like, what do you do? You know, so they're very sick and twisted, and they cannot fake those amounts of empathy when you're sick or when something goes on. So that's another red flag. That one I don't remember. I think that story might be in my book, but I don't remember. Because again, I threw as much as I could in the book, but there's so many other things. So those are the basics. Yeah, that's their whole goal, is to get you. So when they've got you and you're upset and you're sad, mad, angry, they calm down and they look at you and go, oh, what's the matter? What's wrong with you? Why are you acting like that? You know, and it's just this confusing. And then again, then you're trying to go back in your mind, well, what happened in the conversation? And that same lack of, I can't articulate what the heck happened. And even if you can, well, you said such and such. Then they blatantly go, no, I didn't. Is that what you heard? What's going on? And it just makes you crazy. It's like, what? And every conversation will be like that. If you try to sit down and have a serious conversation, well, I felt this way when you said this to me. What? Did I say that? I didn't say. Oh, you took it wrong. Oh, you're so sensitive. And they attack your character. And no man especially wants to be sensitive, wants to be misunderstood, or like you said, you couldn't solve it. I was all emotional in a wreck and you couldn't solve it and you couldn't help me. So what kind of man are you? So that's what these women are doing to you guys. And women are better at it, sorry to say, because that's what women do. Like you were saying, socially, we gossip, we just learn these behaviors. And so women are way better at, nitpicking and subtly putting you down and just getting under your skin, and you don't even know what's going on, right? Yeah, and guys, unfortunately, right, are subject to us women and our prowess. So you guys stay longer because you've got this beautiful woman, and if you told your friend she's really crazy, your friend be like, so what, dude? Right? You get to sleep with her. Yeah. So I think that also is why guys get it worse and guys stay longer. Yeah, so you've gotta stop going after the hot ones. Go after a normal girl who works at a library. Oh, yeah. Right. Like, what's normal? So normal women, we're born with lots of empathy, right? And then especially after we have children, it just goes on 300. So we're supposed to be caring. We're supposed to be nurturing. We're supposed to love unconditionally. We put our children and our spouses and even maybe our family members ahead of ourselves. Even if we send mixed messages because we're kind of confused or whatever, our intent is always love. We're still trying to love. We're still trying to take care of people, So other narcissistic women that are not born with that, can you imagine? It's like a huge thing. So they realize early that, I'm not like these other women. I don't really actually give a fuck about other people's feelings. And, shoot, I'm going to be found out. So they start to mimic other women. They start to fake it. And then women, like I said, we gossip, we talk about each other. We're all about competition, which is how we're socialized, the competition of getting the better guy or whatever. So they start this competition of, well, okay, society says I got to get married and I got to have kids. I don't really like either, right? But I got to look better than Cheryl down the street. So they do it. They search you out. They figure out who's the best, who they can subjugate, who's going to give them the prettiest kids. And then they do what they got to do. And then once they've done that, they discard you, throw you to the side, like, I'm done, I got what I wanted. I'm dealing with a couple of clients where very quickly after the woman has the children, is she getting rid of the man? Like, why didn't you go to a sperm bank? But these women are searching you guys out, getting what they need, having their baby, and then like, it's my baby. Bye. Like, all I wanted you for was this kid. So I'm dealing with a lot of that as well. So yeah, with the program I'm developing, a coaching program, because in my therapy I do help people with dating again. Once we've gone through everything and they're healed, then I pretty much coach them through how to date, what are the parameters, we set up rules, what are the red flags, and it's going really well. A lot of my clients are doing well, are with new partners and happy and safe. So we're creating a coaching program for those of you who are out of California, because I can't do therapy out of California. But we're creating the coaching program on how to date, how to deal with this alienation, how to just go through the whole gamut, whether you're at the beginning of escaping the narcissist or you're at this part of trying to deal with life after the narcissist and being afraid to date again. So there is a way to figure that out. Yeah, and people. Yeah, that's all they are. They don't know how to do real love, so they learn, okay, I can fake love, show love by possessions. And that's how they get your children. Just show them with possessions and Disneyland tickets. And then, yes, they have to have all the better stuff, all the best things, because that's, again, how they show society, look at me, I'm great. Don't actually look into my personality because that ain't there. But by the cover of everything, I have to make sure it looks great, as I possibly can. And so they collect possessions in people as well. That's why it's so hard to leave them. They don't just leave you alone. You can't just break up with these people and, okay, we didn't work out, let's go our separate ways. They keep coming back because you're theirs. They conquered you, they subjugated you, they put in all this hard work. They're not letting you go. So they will consistently try to pull you in, wallop you over the head, pull you in again, wallop you over the head, and then even check in, years apart, like, oh, let me see if I can still get to you. Let me see if you're still mine. Let me see if I still can push your buttons. And they don't care if it's a negative response, but as long as you respond, they're like, yes, got him. I still got that person. So they're all about that. Material possessions and people as possessions. Everything is a possession, a thing to them. So when people think, well, they must love their children, right? And they must love me. They kind of love me somehow down in there. No, not in the sense that we know love. In the sense that, look at what I made. I made these kids. Look at them. They're mine. That's the kind of love in their head. It's not actual love, because you see the way they treat these kids. Okay, so normal adolescence technically starts around 8 or 9. So you start to see their little bursts of testosterone in the boys. They speak up to you a little different, or the girls start acting sassy or whatnot, or more emotional. 8 or 9, so you've got to start there. So once they start adolescence, they're trying to gain their independence. They're trying to search for an identity outside of their parents, because that's all they've known up to that point. And they're looking to find out if they're worthy. Am I worthy of life? Am I worthy of a career? Am I worthy of friends? They're looking for their role. What is my role in the family? Who am I? What is my role with my friends? Who am I and what am I? So that's why it's the perfect breeding ground for these narcissists to get a hold of them and pull them to their side. So their parents are obviously their role models, and traditional, child development theories is that the child will try to emulate their gender counterpart. So the female's supposed to emulate the female, and the male's supposed to, that's who you look up to. Okay, this is the kind of man I'm going to be, this kind of woman I'm going to be. But, then when that's messed up, it gets all crazy. Any questions on that of normal adolescence? Oh, and normal adolescence, they're supposed to be selfish too. So during adolescence, they're actually supposed to be a little narcissistic, because it's a law of survival. Back in the day when you hit adolescence, you had to get out there, get independent, kill a boar, and survive on your own. So kids, that's what they're going through, is they're selfish. They don't want to do anything with the family. They don't want to do this. They just want to do their own thing. They just want to, that's normal. So don't beat your kid down too much for that piece of it, because they're supposed to be doing that. But your job is to teach them, how to be nice while they're doing it, or how to kind of curb it here and there. And, you can do different things. But they're technically supposed to be selfish. Yeah, and that is their goal, because now, you've awoken. Is that the word? You've woken up, and so they can't subjugate you anymore, so you're no use to them. And now you're getting in the way of them trying to raise a little minion. So they have to get rid of you. There is no half, there is no they need your help, none of that. They need you out of the picture 100%, so that they can do what they need to do with their child, which is exactly what they did to you, because there's also the isolation phase, where narcissists get with you and they isolate you. They cut off your friends. They start telling you, yeah, that friend's bad, this and that. They move you from your family. Let's move across the country. I don't want to be near your mom and dad, right? And so they've isolated you, and then it's perfect for the continued abuse. So that's what they're trying to do with the child. Well, let me isolate them from anyone, including a parent, who could tell them that this is wrong, and then they'll just believe me. What was the other part of his question? Was that it? Okay, I see the other half of his question. How are the children when they reside with the narcissist? Okay, so the children, most children, again, are smart. So they know this parent's kind of off or whatever. But adolescence is also, right, ooh, they're giving me Disneyland, they're giving me games, I get to do what I want. And so they're unfortunately unable to go against that. So one reason is that they are getting all these things. There's no rules and consequences. They're going to go with that. The other reason is that kids have to pick a parent. So kids can't have both of their parents in their mind be terrible. So if I have to choose, usually I'm going to choose the mother because she's supposed to be my nurturing parent, and I'm going to choose a parent giving me a bunch of stuff. So they choose. Then when they're living with the narcissist, it's not all, rainbows and kittens. They're under attack, they're under abuse, they are developing disorders, anxiety, depression, eating disorders, all kind of stuff, OCD. So they're not just in la la land, but they can't leave. The other thing is some of the narcissists, most narcissists use some kind of drugs or something, but your more obvious ones, the alcoholics or different things, that breeds more codependence where the kid wants to take care of the mom. Well, mom's sick, right? I got to take care of her. You're okay. So you don't need me. So I'm going to go with the parent that looks like they need me, that's sick, and the mom tells them that I need you. You're my such and such, you're my little boy and you're my little princess and I need you, and oh, you got to help me. So they feed into that need of the child to find their role by starting to tell them what their role is. Your role is to take care of me, and so the kid bites that and goes after that. Now the other question was if they come back. Again, I'm going through it as well. I know a friend who went through it and her son was gone for about 4 years and then he did come back. And now they have a relationship. I had another client, it was an adult daughter that alienated her and then came back, but then had a baby, and that triggered some of her old trauma, and then she left again. So I believe, you definitely have to wait, if not like 18, 20, depending on how mature they are. The other thing about puberty is it doesn't actually end till 25. 25-ish is when their brain actually stops going through crazy puberty. Yeah. So you may have to wait till they're 25 and they mature and they're living life for that light bulb to go, what am I doing? Let me go back, Or some people it's 16 or 18 when the kid can make their own decision against the court and go live with you instead, if they know the other parent is a mess. So it really depends on the situation and the savviness and resilience of the kid as to when they come back. But so far I've heard that they do come back because it's just this craziness of adolescence that pulls them away from you. And if you stay consistent, and when they do come back, they can see that you did call, you did text, you did send presents, you stayed consistent through that storm, then they'll go, okay, you know what, that makes sense. You were there for me, So, which again, I'm with you guys on, that's really hard, and so for my son and his personality and the way things happened, I can't do that. I can only do the once a year. I can't stay in there, but if he had done this earlier and he was younger, then of course I would have kept it going, Yeah, I mean, you can't. You have to just hang in there and pray for them and send angels to them. And like I said, just accumulate proof that you did contact them, you did do all this, so then when they do come back, you can go, look, I know your mom told you I didn't, but I did. I did try to see you. I did try to talk to you. I did try to, do this and that. And that's another problem, is where you guys don't want to talk bad about the mom, but she damn sure is talking bad about you to the children. So you have to find a line where you're not talking bad about them, but you're putting a seed in the child's mind to question, like, does that make sense? And that's what I do with children. Like, really? Your mom said that your dad hasn't texted or called you, huh? Well, that doesn't seem right because he's called me and he's trying to actually be involved in your therapy. So I don't know. Does that make sense to you? And I leave it there for the kid to go, yeah, why would he do that and not this other thing? And I had another kid where you could tell the mom was trying to alienate, but the court had it, he still had visitation and stuff, and they were trying to get the therapy going. And what did the kid say? Oh gosh, I lost the thought. But I just kind of plant seeds. So you have to just, oh, I did. Oh, I don't know. And then you act like you don't know what happened either. You're not blaming mom. Oh, I did leave you a message. Maybe it got lost. I don't know. Maybe it didn't go through the cell phone company. Yeah. And you just get the kid to start thinking that, okay, wait a minute, So it sucks when they're not with you at all. You can say things like, oh, you had to make mom breakfast and bring it to her? huh, I don't know. That seems like a lot. Just be very, aloof about it, but you can still say, gosh, that sounds like a lot, huh? Just so the kid starts thinking, like, yeah, why am I having to do all these things and I'm the kid? And then well, didn't you play outside, or don't you have friends in the neighborhood? I mean, when I was your age, we were playing, so, huh, that sounds like a lot. Something like that. Because, yeah, I hate that type. It's so sick and twisted. Well, if you're in the dark place, you're probably in the depression phase of the grief, and the next phase is the acceptance. So you kind of have to give into that a little bit. You have to cry. Maybe you could write a letter to the ex. You're not going to give it to her, but a letter just getting everything out and saying, goodbye to that past crap, and the hard word, forgiving. So you're not forgiving because she's changed and she's a good person. You're forgiving to get that stuff off of you, that we know she's sick and twisted. She's not going to change. So you have to forgive that she doesn't know what she's doing, in a sense, to your child or whatever, and you can't keep holding on to that anger and darkness. You've got to burst forth. But yeah, I think for a lot of men, right, you guys don't cry as much as us, and that is the only way to kind of burst out of that depression phase into the acceptance. It kind of helps you release it all. So watch a sad movie, listen to some sad music, and have a good cry, and then you pick yourself up the next day like, okay, what can I do to move on until I get around? And that's the other thing people get confused about. The grief cycle continues to go on. So it starts intense and then it trickles down little by little. So even though you get to acceptance and you're doing well for a while and you think, great, I'm going to stay here. No, because more milestones, more events are going to happen, and you're going to go back into that grief. And the grief cycle is also explained in my book, Denial, Anger, Bargaining, Depression, Acceptance. So you're going to go back through there. But each time you go through it, you can learn how to deal with the phases more effectively, so that it's shorter and shorter, and you get back to acceptance and you stay in acceptance as long as you can. And I also have a YouTube video on it explaining in detail what to do in each phase, because yeah, it's going to keep happening, and you got to be prepared for it and not let it throw you down the hole every single time it happens. So just hang in there. Yeah, and that is a very powerful thing. Just on that point, that is a very powerful thing. If you do have contact with the kids and it's like shared custody, that your half of showing them what life is supposed to be and showing them how to be a good human being does have an effect. So even though they go back to the narcissist and they act a certain way, they do this, or they come back to you and you've got to undo some things, it is working. That it's in their head, the foundation of, well, not everybody is like my mom. Okay, I see, and so just keep that strong. Keep knowing that your lessons and things are getting in there, and then we hope later they'll be there for the kid to make a better decision. Definitely you gotta apologize, even though you didn't do it. You gotta apologize for not being there, for not being able to fight her, for not being able to get them, for basically choosing her as their mom in the first place. And not being able to, stop what happened. And then you just have to get to know them. So whatever years you've lost, you can't go back and start where you were. You have to get to know your kid for who they are today, and then help them from that point forward of healing. So I do that with like the 5 questions: who, what, when, where, how. So when you're talking to a kid, you really pull out and really just listen and really ask questions without giving lectures or anything. And that will help them feel heard and understood, and you'll get a lot out of them. Okay? So you really just have to spend time with them, show them that you care, show them that, look at what they're looking at. I get to watch Minecraft and Roblox. So you got to sit there and be like, okay, what's that character about? What are you doing? Really be interested in their stuff, even if we're not really, let me see that anime. Okay, whatever, so you've got to really show them that you care about who they are as a person, and then they'll, want to come towards you even more. And then you got to be ready with your answers, because again, the narcissist has told them a bunch of stuff. So when they ask you something, you can't say, I don't want to talk about that. That's not appropriate for you to know. You can't. You have to give them something. So you can PG-13 it, but you have to tell them, well, this is kind of what my part is, that what happened, or, well, this is how it went down, so I don't know what your mom told you. And you don't have to talk bad about the mom. You can say things like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with your mom, unless they already know the narcissist name. But you can say, I don't know what's wrong with your mom, but that does seem weird, right? Or, you have to validate when they start, trying to speak on, well, mom did this and I felt a certain way about that. You have to go, yeah, really? Huh? Yeah, that feels bad. You can't say, no, your mom loves you. You can't do that, because the kid is going to get so confused that this is love, manipulation, and whatever. So you have to go with them and be like, no, I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, that does sound weird. Yeah, that doesn't sound like love. I'm not really sure, but I know, something's wrong with your mom or whatever. So you can do it like that, but you have to just be in there, make the time, put it in your schedule, that you don't miss a thing. You're always on time. You're always doing what you said you would do with them and showing up. And for little kids, for smaller kids, how I explain it is friendship. They understand that, mommy and daddy were friends, and then they stopped being friends. They stopped being interested in the same things, or they argued a lot, and so they couldn't be friends anymore. And so daddy had to leave mommy, but daddy will never leave the kid, because you guys are not friends, you're blood. Kids understand that, and that helps them. Oh, okay, so that the little ones can get why you're never going to get back together, why you're not together for the little part, until they start questioning the other reasons, And I had to say, my son was maybe 8 or 9, and he said, why does my dad have 2 girlfriends? This was after I left him. And I said, yeah. I said, some people like that sort of thing, and I didn't, and that's why I left. So now he had the reason I left. He knew it wasn't because of him, and I validated that, yeah, your dad does that. I didn't, make up something. So you have to be ready to answer those hard questions. Yeah, and I love that, because I usually tell people you're like the wall, and then your kid has to bounce off of you. So I like that. If you're the lighthouse and your kid comes back, they're good. Like we said, they've developed disorders by this point. They're going to be distraught. They're going to test you as well. Like, let me make sure I'm doing the right thing and you are who you're saying you are. So you got to stand strong and let them bounce off of you, So definitely getting therapy or coaching to deal with, like one guy said, his kid, being rude and mean. You got to take it, but at the same time, you have to set clear boundaries, because you also are teaching them that that's disrespectful. This is what the consequence is going to be. And you can't be afraid to set those consequences just because the kid can go, well, I'm not coming over next weekend then. You got to be able to be like, okay, if you can, and when you choose to come over, the rules are still going to be here. So even though in the moment it'll be like, but I'm losing time with my kid, but in the long run, you're teaching them that respect and that boundary, and how that you're strong, that you're not, because, mom changes. They've experienced that. Mom is not stable. She changes from day to day, what she wants to say, who she wants to be. And so if you stay that stable person, even though it'll hurt a few times, it'll help later. Well, like he said, with the kid insulting you and whatnot, you got to sit them down, talk to them one-on-one, hey, this is how I would like to be spoken to. Like, this is not okay, and then you got to come up with the consequence. So every time you say this, money goes in a jar, or money comes out of a jar, or whatever. If you refrain from saying this, then, at the end of the week or the end of the month, we'll use that money for something fun. But if you've been very disrespectful, then we don't get to have fun, or we don't get to do these things. We're just going to do some other smaller activities. So you still can do activities. It's not like you have to punish your kid all day or anything, but you have to set up a behavior plan, a system, to where you are rewarding them for not being disrespectful, and that you're also teaching them what to say instead, and letting them know what you will accept. Okay, and then boundaries, I'll give you a quick one, because I got to get going, but with the ex, one of my cool tricks is, in your phone, the name, it shouldn't say my ex-wife, because she's nothing to you anymore. It shouldn't say her name, because she's not a worthy human being. It should say your kids' names and put a picture of your kids. And that way, when you see it, you'll automatically be detached from wanting to talk to her as a person and going, okay, is this about my kids? What is this about? Unless you have to deal with talking parents or something, I understand that. But if you still have the cell phone communication, that really stops you. I don't need to respond. My kids are safe. They're with me or whatever. I don't need to feed into BS. And then you can get, okay, I got to deal with her. Let me get emotionally ready. Let me get strong. And okay, I'm going to get on the phone and I'm only going to respond to this or that. And then I'm going to get off. Or can you text and can you email? Because you've all heard by now of the no contact rule. So if you can have as little verbal and visual contact with them, that would be best. But that's a great way to just start that detaching boundary of you're over here and I only need to deal with you in regards to my children.